What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. How about you?
Hi, my name is Merno and welcome to Project Metroidvania, a series where I play through various Metroidvanias live on Twitch and make retrospective videos about them after I finish them. Want to join me while I explore the future games of the project? More on that towards the end of the video. Today we're talking about the tried and tested, much beloved Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night takes place about 4 years after another Castlevania game called Rondo of Blood. Richter Belmont has been missing for all of these years and simultaneously Dracula's castle has reappeared. Alucard takes it upon himself to reawaken and find out what's going on.
I'm interested in this.
Pretty cool side note here is that this game starts with us actually playing the last scene of Rondo of Blood, which I found to both set the story on a good path, but also just be a cool feature. After that scene, we are thrown 4 years into the future. Some may ask why this old PlayStation 1 game out of all awesome Metroidvanias out there. Symphony of the Night is generally considered as the start of the Metroidvania genre, as it took the pre-established Castlevania formula and blended it with the feeling of exploration from Metroid. The developers have stated it was more looking at Zelda, but as we all know, if the community decides, there is no stopping it. So here we are, a genre that mixes exploration, ability progression and backtracking with some degree of platforming. If you want to go even deeper, we can call this specific game an Igavania, after the developer Koji Igarashi, who always has some RPG elements on top of his games, as we will talk about soon. Considering how influential this game is, I figured we should start here and move around the genre after the groundwork has been set. So how was my time in this classic? Honestly, my experience was quite different depending on where in the game I was. I will break this next part into 3, representing my 3 phases going from new and confused to overpowered vampire slayer. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, the first thing I noticed from the first scene, the one I told you about from the other game, and this kept running through literally every hour of gameplay, is how good the music is. It feels weird mentioning this as the first point, but I just have to start here. So many times I found myself bobbing with my head to the music instead of playing the game. I sang along both melodies, drum parts, and I was just 100% locked in for all the tunes in the game, and they never got boring. Regarding controls, I play my retro side-scroller games on keyboard only, left hand on a 8-button layout to cover both shoulders and regular buttons on a PlayStation controller, right hand on the arrow keys. This worked very well, and because of games from this era is designed with a D-pad in mind, I never felt like I was sliding around in awkward skid animations or similar. It just makes sense to control, to be honest. The dash is backwards instead of forwards, which was really interesting. I didn't get it at first, but using it to traverse the map a bit faster or positioning was really cool too. It let me apply some of my platforming fighting knowledge, which I always enjoy doing. Moving on to 2 points that has not aged just as well was the voice acting. Let's call it weird. All characters, they are very stiff, as if they are made from like modern text-to-speech, and it had me laughing more than listening. Enjoyable? Absolutely. Aged well? Not really. And of course, women has to sound like this when dying.
Wait! I beg of you!
What? Last thing that I picked up from my early sessions was that the UI was not my friend. For some reason I was clicking wrong buttons all the time to equip or close the windows. This led me to use fewer items than I should because I just found it a hassle to go into the menus and find the items, equip them and use them, and then back into the menu again to equip what I was wearing before. This would have been fine if potions or items did not get equipped in the weapon slot, but for a couple of hours I had a 2-handed sword that I needed to unequip every time I wanted to use a potion and re-equip when the potion was used. Lastly, something that tainted my first few sessions was that I went into this game with very high expectations, knowing it was a classic and a game that the community in general loves. I was expecting peak vampire action, and somewhere in this I kinda forgot this game is old, and also the general progression curve of this type of games. So initially the game did not click with me fully. I stuck to it though, and I'm very glad I did. Let's move on to the second part. As I mentioned, Symphony of the Night didn't fully click with me until sometime into the game. This was around when I was about to get the first ending. By then I had gotten used to enough retro gaming quirks that I started to truly appreciate the enemy models, the vast variety of weapons and gear to play around with, and the bosses started slowly becoming less pushovers and more mechanically interesting. I actually looked up how many unique enemy models there are in this game, and I found out that there are 146 unique enemies. I don't really know if this is a lot, but considering many have unique death animations and sometimes even say things when attacking, I was continuously blown away every time I found a new enemy, because it felt like there was something new and unique in every room I visited. This made exploration also feel very rewarding, even if you didn't necessarily get an actual reward. When toying around with the gear and items a bit more, it also landed with me that this should probably be seen through the RPG lens. I knew this from the start because a friend told me about the Castlevania RPG elements, but it just didn't hit home with me until this point. So to anyone who is going to play this for the first time, keep the RPG glasses on, your loadout really matters and the enemies have resistances and weaknesses, and you should absolutely play to those strengths. After getting the first ending, or bad ending, because it doesn't really resolve the story in a satisfying way, I explored more parts of the castle. Then I found areas I technically could have found before, but since I already had gotten the first ending, my brain was on optional content mode. The bosses I found here in these areas were maybe 2 times as technical as the earlier bosses. These were proper bosses. It's cool that they grow in complexity, don't get me wrong, but it felt a little weird that these cool bosses were not mandatory. On the other hand, these bosses do block access to the other endings, so in that sense they could be seen as mandatory. It depends a little bit on how you play the game, I guess. They were really good, and I would love to have seen them earlier, is what I'm getting at. From this point on though, it was just downhill fun-time vampire action to me. This also might be considered a spoiler, but this game is so old I feel like it doesn't matter, right? Well, consider yourself warned. In the later part of the game, you get to visit a vertically flipped version of the castle. I just have to mention that this is brilliant. Environment got shaken up, and interesting again, all windows and outdoor areas also had the background flip, so it all felt very freaky, magical and confusing. I also managed to get the rarest and most powerful sword in the game, 1 out of 588 drop chance. It was incredibly overpowered, and I danced my way through the end of the game, exploring all I need for the final ending and an epic final battle with Count Dracula. Going out of this game, it almost feels like this is a game I've always loved, I just didn't know it yet. I found it very charming, music is phenomenal, progressively challenging while giving you power accordingly, and enough jank to feel the age, but not enough to put it down. Many moments had me laugh out loud, and I will carry these moments for a long time. All from the first time I saw the wolf form to the iconic one-liners some of the character has. This classic is absolutely worth checking out if you haven't. You want to join me on the Project Metroidvania? Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, following me on Twitch and join my Discord channel. That way we can play these games together, compare and nerd out over all the details they bring to the table. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you around. Bye!